Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The level of having Ihsaan delivered by His Eminence Sheikh Bandar ibn Abdulaziz Balila, delivered it in 13th Juma'ada al-Akhira 1441 Hijriya, 7th February 2020. All praise is due to Allah. He made Ihsaan the highest level we can attain, and made its people those who will be granted the most virtuous of ranks. I praise Allah as is perfect in every way, and I am grateful for His abounding and unmistakable favors. I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah alone, without any partner. He is the only one in ultimate control of all blessings. I further bear witness that Muhammad is Allah's worshipping servant and messenger. He was indeed a prophet of many merits. May Allah grant an abundance of His accommodation and protection to His messenger, as well as the messenger's family and companions for as long as the earth and sky continue to remain. Dear Muslims, you must observe taqwa of Allah, that is, by fulfilling His commands and avoiding His prohibitions. Allah deserves that you observe taqwa and remain mindful of Him, whether you are in public or private. In addition, you must devote yourself to Him by having ihsan, that is, worshipping Him in the best way. When you do that, He will grant you immense kindness, mercy, and reward. The most remarkable people are those who have hearts which love Allah more than all else. They continually remain mindful of Him. They spend time calling upon Him in private. They do not devote any of their worship to other than Him. They obey Him whenever they speak. They comply with His directives whenever they act. They are happy knowing that He is nearer to them. They feel sorrow about Him reprimanding them. They cannot bear to be away from Him for even a moment, and they do not utter any word that displeases Him. Dear Muslim, when people attain certain levels in Allah's religion, that leads them to high standing with Allah, makes them role models for others to follow, and enables them to have Allah be pleased with them and love them. Servant of Allah, the pinnacle of those levels is called Ihsan in Arabic. It entails doing what is best in the most complete way. It combines the element of completion and goodness. Since Islam's teaching form the foundation from which all virtue emanate, the level of Ihsan is given the greatest of importance in Islam's text, and it's one of the most crucial acts of worship to perform. Allah demonstrated said, Allah indeed instruct you to be fair, have ihsan, and give to those related to you. In addition, our Prophet, the leader of all people in having ihsan, stated, Allah certainly prescribed ihsan in all things. This was collected by Muslim. The starting point of ihsan lies in a person doing what is best as it relates to his own self, by making himself recognize his Lord and Creator, affirming his Lord's uniqueness, worshipping his Lord with full mindfulness, and constantly struggling to maintain full sincerity toward his Lord. When a person does those, he will actualize the sentiment of the Prophet ﷺ, worship Allah as though you could see Him, and although you cannot see Him in this world, always remember that He sees you. This was collected by Al-Bukhari and Muslim, that level is the highest objective and level, and there is no aim greater than that for a person of Iman, that is someone who has sound beliefs and perform righteous deeds. By way of having ihsan, a person becomes someone who will be, if he actually sees his Lord with his very own eyes. Can you imagine the degree of what such a person will feel towards Allah in terms of reverence, humility, servitude, and submission? When a person knows that his Lord always sees him, is aware of even his innermost secrets, is aware of even his innermost secret, and is never unaware of anything about him for even the blink of an eye, that person will strive to perform all his acts of worship as best as possible, without any sort of deficiency and without ever feeling any sort of fatigue. A person of Iman is to have ihsan when performing salah, obligatory prayers, since those are the times at which he meets his Lord. Allah, who is to be more beloved to him than all else, those are the times when he calls upon his Lord in private, and he should therefore ensure that he does so in the best way. His claims could come to rest while bowing and prostrating. He should not let any part of his prayer be stolen from him. He should not perform its movement quickly and abruptly the way a bird pecks. And he should not be unmindful and inattentive about what he is doing. He should perform his prayers with composure humility, mindfulness, and focus. A person of Iman is to also have Ihsaan when giving zakah or other charity. Giving zakah purifies one's wealth, makes one's earnings grow, and provides consolation to one's brothers who are in need. Thus, one is to give it to those entitled, and to do so at the time when it is due. It is to be given in full, without any degree. It is to be given with willingness. One must not remain any recipient of having given it, or cause any sort of harm to a recipient. Furthermore, one should not be too stingy to give occasional charity in addition to zakah, since that will be a further act of kindness and an extension of ihsan. A person of Iman is to also have ihsan when he fasts. That comes about foregoing his own desires and giving priority to what Allah wants from him. Ainam. By doing that, the individual worships Allah in a very special way and attains the level of ihsan. The individual forgoes the most beloved of things to himself without even the nearest of people to him knowing about that. And he does so, and he does so, giving priority to the one who is aware of all things. This is the essence of ihsan, and fasting is an incredible means by which ihsan can be actualized. A person of Iman is also to have ihsan when performing Hajj, which is an act that represents the response of an individual to the call issued by his Lord, who is to be more beloved to him than all else. Hajj further entails an individual setting out to the house of his Lord, performing acts of worship, performing all acts of worship. They are sincerely for his Lord alone, and avoiding marital intimacy and its precursors. Disobedience to Allah and disputation for the purpose of rejecting the truth. In such a state, the individual is fully out devote himself to Allah and be mindful of reverence to the location which he has come. While at the sight of Allah's sacred house and within the pretext of his favors and blessings, a person must desist from having Allah see him doing anything and benefiting, neglecting any obligation or falling short on any act of worship. Thus Hajj is another major manifestation of Ihsan. In addition to the preceding, a person of Iman is to have Ihsan as it relates to others. Once a person has Ihsan as it relates to himself, he should strive to train himself to have Ihsan towards others. There are innumerable ways that can be done, including extending kindness, having a pleasant facial expression, helping others in need, assisting others in distress, feeding those who are hungry, caring for orphans, tending to windows, assisting people in getting married, visiting the ill, teaching those who lack knowledge, giving direction to those who lost the way, and so on. Dear Muslim, further manifestation of Ihsan that provide profound admonition for Allah's worshipping servant can be found in the hadith that mentions 7 types of people to whom Allah will grant shade on the day when there will be no shade except that the shade He grants. Among those mentioned were a man who says, I fear Allah, when a woman of status and beauty entices him to commit adultery, a man who gives charity to so discreetly that even his left hand does not know what his right hand gives, and a man who mentions Allah well alone, and due to that his 2 eyes shed tears, out of reverence for Allah and yearning to meet Him. This was called by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. These are the 3 truly profound manifestations of Ihsan that only the most complete of individuals will be able to embody. The first one mentioned is the case of a man who finds himself tested by a woman of status and beauty enticing him to commit adultery with her. That situation could be very well cause him to give in. However, remember that Allah always sees him. It's like a flame that burns brightly in his heart, and it outshines the desire he feels within himself. Thus, he makes a momentous statement by saying, I fear Allah, due to overcoming his own inclination and being mindful of his guardian Lord. That is something that will not be uttered without its truth already being very firmly implanted in the heart. An individual will not reach the level without having an abundant share within himself of Ihsan and mindfulness of Allah. The second manifestation mentioned in the hadith is the case of someone who gives to the poor in private, doing that as a way of ensuring the sincerity of Allah. Demonstrated here, the utmost degree of Ihsan is actualized since the person extends generosity to others, and he also conceals that from the eyes of people. This represents the epitome of Ihsan, performing an act of worship without giving mind to anyone besides Allah, and making one's priority the fact that Allah sees him and knows everything about him. The third manifestation mentioned in the hadith is the case of someone who mentions Allah while alone, and due to that His two eyes shed tears because of the fear, love, hope, and yearning that he feels towards Allah. This type of person is someone who secretly devotes all of his worship to Allah and performs his deeds in the best way. This can be understood since he sought to be away from people in order to be focused on what Allah sees from him, and he then continues remaining mindful that Allah sees him. This person, Ihsan, is indicated by him being alone, mentioning Allah, calling upon Allah in private, and even weeping. There are many facets of Ihsan that such a person engages in. Moreover, since people with the foregoing qualities give priority to remembering that their Lord always sees everything about them, Allah, who is perfect in every way, will grant them a reward on the day of resurrection which comes from none besides Him. Since there will be no shade on the day besides the shade that He grants, Allah indeed spoke the truth by saying, "Is the reward for Ihsan doing good in this world any than Ihsan receiving good in the hereafter?" May Allah enable all of us to glean benefit from the evidence and guidance He sent down to us, and may He bless us by sunnah of the best individual among all of all creation. I implore Allah, the most magnificent, to forgive myself and all of you for every sin, that you should also seek His forgiveness, since He is certainly abundantly forgiving. All praise due to Allah for His kindness, and I'm grateful to Him for His innumerable favors and blessings. I believe that none has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah, and I believe that Muhammad is Allah's worshipping servant and messenger. May Allah grant His commendation, protection, and blessing to His messenger, as well as to the messenger's family, companions, and who will continue to follow their path until the day of resurrection. My dear brothers who have Iman, Ihsan regarding both oneself and others lead to incredible results and rewards. May Allah وصلي وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه أجمعين.